So, I'm on a wild camp tonight. It's not midweek, but it's a weekday wild camp. You guys all went to work today. I didn't go to work today, but I'll be at work tomorrow, so it's gonna be a super early morning get up. We're not gonna see anything, so I've got to like sort of wake up at 4 o'clock. I'll probably gotta leave the site at like 4:45, 5 o'clock, maybe 5:30. There won't be any sunlight or any kind of ambient light before then, I don't think. So when I say goodnight tonight, that's probably going to be it. I might do a bit of torch videoing inside the tent or something. I really don't know what my plan is for tonight. We've just had the passing of that Storm Freya that the media went all ballistic about. I'm on the outskirts of London and it didn't really do much except just high winds and a bit of rain. And today has been, well, blessed when it comes to storms, because we've had pretty much clear sky all day. We've had the clear sky pretty much all day, and that's been quite nice. I've actually been wearing shorts today. It's been very, very cool, very nice to be out like that, but I'm losing sunlight pretty quickly, so I'm going to get the stick stove set up, the fire going. Got myself some pre-marinated lamb chops. Went for teriyaki flavor. Made my own teriyaki sauce, so if it works out good, I'll share the recipe on that. And let's get to the site quickly. Oh, just before I go, you had a look at these hawthorns over here. And this park, basically every second or so, hawthorn is pretty much in full flower right now. And then all the sloes and things like that are still coming out. There's a pussy willow just behind me. Yep, we have a tree in the UK called pussy willow. And that's flowering. Just out of interest, you know, could you throw your comment down? Let me know where you are and which part of the world you're in, so, and how the spring is, because we had very warm days in February. So it's the 4th of March, and this is very unusual for the 4th of March usually. But I am near London, so you guys in the Midlands and North, you know, Scotland, everywhere, wherever you are, tell me what it's like in your side of the world. Be interesting to know, because I don't really get to travel out away from my part of the UK very much. So if you've been following the channel, I had a very short video on my second wild camp, because I arrived there well after dark and there was a lot of people in the park at that time. So I kept really, really quiet. And this is where I camped on that video, underneath these hawthorns. It's really hard to get in there, as you can see, really dense. But once you're in there, it's pretty cool. There's like, you could say room for probably 3 lavus, but it would kind of make, you know, the Polish Army Polish tent, it'd kind of make it really difficult for the 3 people to walk around. So 2 in there would kind of be perfect for an overnighter. Once you get in there, you can actually stand up and stuff, and that's pretty right. Not a bad little mission if you really want to. It's really good for stealth camping though. And if you're kind of worried about your kind of first ever solo overnighter, I'd actually recommend looking for something like that, because you know, if you're worried about people seeing your tent, approaching, coming up to you, especially if they're dangerous individuals, a nice thick hawthorn around you is pretty decent. Take care of your site, really. So just to give you an idea, when you're urban wild camping, how, at least in my park, how I have to kind of, to get away from the public, how I have to like sort of rustle through and hustle my way through places, backpack catching on everything. crawling on your knees to get through. I'm not trying to say I'm okay, that was a bit hard. I'm not trying to say it's like a super hard thing, but it's pretty annoying and it gets quite tiring. I can understand why some people end up in woodlands, obviously, where you don't have to bend down even once. Maybe bend down to light your fire, you know, or to turn your steak, but not here. Oh, God. I seriously need to get maybe that Swedish Army LK35 thing and just sew like some fat pockets on the side, you know. My pack's quite tall, and then also through the mole system I attached my EDC utility pouch, and that just extends it by a little bit more, you know. So I'm losing light pretty fast. Got a lager and an ale to get through. Normally I like to bring about 4 alcoholic beverages with me when I go wild camping, but this is a seriously impromptu session. I was meant to go out last night. Somebody just said to me, you know, you're off work tomorrow, just go out, get something done. And basically it was a bit late when I made that decision, so I made the decision, okay cool, I'm gonna get up super early, something stupid like 3 o'clock in the morning, and tick off one of my commenters on my first solo wild camp video. The one where I arrived in the woodland at like 4 o'clock or whatever, and I went park and I had night vision with me. One guy was like, why the hell did you do that? Anyway, I did explain to him why. I couldn't, that night I couldn't just get out when I wanted to. But last night I was just like, you know, I've not had a wild camp since probably January or something. I've been meaning to do it. I've been filming quite a few different little events, day trips and stuff like that, but I need a wild camp session, and we're fast losing the cold weather. And I've just gotten into wild camping. I need to practice, I need to experience the bad, you know. Otherwise I might not be well prepared for the next winter. I'm not saying we're not going to get negative temperatures anymore. I'm pretty sure we will. The history of this area the last few years has been like, what, we had snow a couple of years back or something, like March, April, so it can happen, but I'm just worried that we end up having a very early spring and losing that. So yeah, that's just going to happen tonight. I'm going to be, but the funny thing, okay, so we had this Storm Freya, and I'd like to go and say another thing which the British media exaggerated on, because they pretty much exaggerate on bloody everything, but I don't know, I don't want to judge because I only live near London. Some of you people in the north and on the coasts will know how heavy it really was. But anyway, Storm Freya is still, the remnants of it is still around. You see the wind around stuff. So I checked the weather. Tonight I'm expecting possible light showers, a low of 5 degrees Celsius, a feels like temperature, wind chill temperature of 2 degrees Celsius, and I'm going all out. I've only brought half the Polish Lavu shelter. I'm going to pitch it in a one-man setting. I'm not going to use the entire pole. I'm going to use either 4 or 3 of the 6 pole inserts. I was practicing it yesterday, the day before yesterday. I was practicing it, and that'll show up in another video in the future, or possibly before this one, I don't know. I was practicing that, and I'm pretty chuffed with the design, and I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm going to be emulating what a single infantryman in the Polish Army would have done if he did not link his poncho together with his buddy, because maybe his buddy smells, or his buddy had a different sexual orientation, who knows. You know, so I'm going to be doing that. First time I'm ever sleeping in the open, you know, as in no tent completely around you. So it's going to be quite interesting. And you'll see my setup in a minute. There's the whole rucksack. Sorry for the background noise. You all know, if you watch my channel, I often camp near an annoying highway. This is the rush hour traffic, everyone freaking out and running away from London at 5:30 in the evening on a Monday. So anyway, here's what I was saying. My rucksack's quite tall, and obviously with the mole system up here, I've attached my EDC utility pouch. That flag, if you know what that is, that's signifying an upcoming video. So if you're from this place, check it out, dude. Subscribe or whatever. Stick the bell on. Keep an eye out, whatever. Upcoming video. Yep. So, oh come on. That is stuff I just couldn't stuff in there, and I didn't feel like having more stuff strapped underneath because I don't want to look like some militant leaving my neighborhood, because when I left, obviously loads of kids and stuff are coming home from school, people coming home from work and stuff. That's my Polish Army half side, so the one poncho plus a few of the metal poles and whatever. I think I've got a tarp in there. I do have my wool blanket this time around. That's the EDC pouch, as I mentioned before. It's quite packed with stuff in there. Just got basic things, tripod, things I realized at the last very second that I didn't have packed, bit of extra tissue, and yeah, tripod. What else? Picked up a bunch of dry stuff to get the fire going. I do have my tinder pouch, but that's just some stuff to get the other stuff lit. It's nice to hear the robins and stuff still going all mental right now. Okay, so the good news is I kind of forgot about the, there's a little bit of a berm over there just behind my tent, and basically normally I camp, put my tent just over to that side, and I did test the wind. Wind seems to be primarily coming from that direction, so obviously I'm going to have my tent set up in a one infantryman setup, so the front of the tent is going to remain open. But the good thing about having the berm behind is I can raise the back of the tent, so possibly the tent may not be rubbing on me or my equipment, just in case it comes down heavily with rain. I'm a bit worried that the angle of the poncho being so diagonal, well, you know, the gradient being so low, that the water can kind of collect on there and then seep through. So we'll see. I have a good feeling we're not going to see much or any rain tonight, but who knows. The storm has just passed. Storm Freya finished kind of like this morning, last night kind of thing, and we just don't know. So, you know, it's UK weather. Okay, so here we have the library setup. I've used 3 tent poles, So trying to emulate what a Polish soldier would do if he only had his kit with him and his one poncho. It looks like there's honestly a whole lot of room in there. There's quite a lot of room lengthwise. It's really long. It's pretty good. Sorry, I know the light isn't great. It's definitely long enough for me. The only issue is obviously at the ends. It goes really low down. The gradient is quite low. So I think obviously the backpack, I reckon, should go somewhere towards the back of my head. Not the back, but you know, behind me in the tent. And then that should be able to make, you know, raise the top of it up a bit. I do have the other 3 tent poles with me, but I'm trying to emulate as much as possible the single infantryman system. So I think today I'm not going to use those at all. When I experimented with these, I did actually use them to prop up the back of the tent. When I was messing around doing this the other day. What I have done as well is I've made 2 guy lines with some cordage that I have. So went to the top over here, put the canvas, made a bit of a knob going on there, knob and balls, wrapped it around there, tied a little bit of a knot here, 2 guy lines coming down, and then I've got some bungee things that came with a cheapo canvas. I was trying to tie it earlier and it wasn't working very well. And obviously 2 tent pegs. One there, and hopefully the stretchability of that with the bungees will kind of keep it steady in the wind. It's gotten pretty dark already. Just spent quite a bit of my time setting up the tent, which you cannot see at all. I'm not going to get any more taut, so I've got the 5 pegs at the back, and it's pretty tight, just sagging just slightly a bit. I mean, on all sides, you know, the back, the left and the right, and then covering the front, just in case I have some sneaky foxes. You know, I'm going to be cooking some lamb chops tonight. Obviously I don't throw my stuff away, so I keep it in the tent with me. Plastic bags that I'm using to marinate it and stuff, so just in case I get some little fox or something trying to be in a bit of an intruder, I'm going to throw up some camouflage netting over the front, and that should hopefully, if the wind turns on me, hopefully that will you know, just help to bring down the force of the wind coming into the tent. So there's just a few extra pegs to peg that down as well. And judging by the weather, the wind has kind of slowed down. Don't know if I mentioned earlier, but it's going to be a high of 5, well, an average of 5 degrees Celsius. Apparently the feels like temperature will be 2 degrees Celsius, and the highest wind I will experience tonight before I get up and go to work will be 27 miles an hour, and the lowest I think will be 9 or 10 or 8 or something like that. 8 to 10. So we'll see what the weather brings us, what Mother Nature brings us tonight. So it's going to be open at the front of the tent. Okay, let's get the light on. It's going to be open at the front. I don't know how well you can see there. Like I said, the stretching space is actually pretty good. I think I'll be totally fine with that, except just the gradient on this side is quite low, so you'll be right above your head. Kit for tonight to keep warm. I've got my Swedish Army M90 extreme winter pullovers. They're actually meant to be attached over your combat pants with what do you call those strap things? I forgot what they're called. Suspenders. But they have zips on the side, so if I get too warm in my sleeping bag, then I will definitely be zipping them off. Not entirely, but just zipping them off enough to be able to aerate my legs a bit. Then on top, my base layer, I've got a t-shirt, then I've got a base layer of Dutch Army, thermal top. It's quite a long one, so it tucks in. One of my problems that I always have when I'm wild camping and it ends up getting cold is I have an issue with my lower back being exposed when I'm kind of lying in a bit of a fetal position. Doesn't expose, but obviously comes open. My clothing goes off of it, and then inside the sleeping bag you can feel cold there, and it can kind of keep you awake all night, so it's a bit of a crap one. So that one tucks in, that ensures that's not going to happen, hopefully. And then what else? My normal sleeping bag, nothing special. I do have the wool blanket with me, and then I just have an extra top that's kind of like a warm fleecy thing that is other than that hooded top that I was wearing earlier. So there's quite a few layers to wear. I know that they don't recommend that you wear a lot on you, but I do not have 4-season sleeping equipment, and I just want to experiment around, play around, see what I can do. I'm not that far from home, so if the weather turns really sour, or if I get extremely cold, risking hypothermia, which I doubt, I'll just head home. It's not an issue. I know it's a bit cold, but I only brought 2 with me today. This one's one of the Lidl ones, so Lidl has made a deal with Heatherwood Craft Beer Company to supply their own little craft beer range. They all seem to have some kind of like sea theme. So this one is punchy and refreshing with a tangy orange sharpness, 6%. Woo, I didn't even realize that. Cool. Yeah. Food pairing, hoisin duck pancakes. So I'm not that far from that. Today I've got teriyaki lamb. So, China, Japan, so not too bad. And yeah, I'll crack into this guy quickly. The next one is one of my favorites. Well, I haven't tried it yet, but comes from my favorite brew company. Show you that later. Ooh, there we have it. There's the wind. I'm going to be hearing noise all night long. I keep hearing snaps and stuff, and it's just the wind. Got a whole bunch of elders, willows, hawthorns, and there's a big, I think where all the snaps are coming from is from the buddleia. It's a massive buddleia there, probably the biggest I've ever seen. Stars coming out on that side, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm going to be hearing stuff all night. I can imagine tomorrow at work I'm going to be pretty knackered. When I get home tomorrow morning, I'm going to have like quite a fat coffee. I'm going to have to kick into the non-decaf stuff maybe. But anyway, tonight I have 2 beers. Well, one is an IPA, one is a lager from my favorite brewing company so far. And after that I have something a bit special that's going to warm me up. I'm not here to drink, just here to have a good time. Last minute decided to have a wild camp. Just feeling it, spring's coming. Gotta enjoy this winter a bit more, I mean, spring's right here, things are just sprouting everywhere, buds are bursting. This is going mental, which is cool. I don't mind it. I'm just a little bit worried about all the flowers. Like I said earlier, there is more than half the hawthorns in this park are in flower, like almost pretty much full flower. The pussy willows are all flowering. There was some cherries flowering. My cherry hasn't even come near that. It's quite a mature one, but the smaller ones, the younger ones, are flowering. I think some of the sloes are flowering as well. Not entirely sure. But the issue with that is if we have that long hardcore frost before the flowers get pollinated, we might have a bit of an issue. We might end up having a lot of the berries and fruit which is usually available that sustain wildlife during autumn and winter just getting knocked off the tree before it even manages to create any fruit that's hard enough to withstand a bit of frost. So that's a bit of a worry. So the eggs have just boiled. I let them boil for about 1 minute, then I've thrown the pot over there just to keep the heat. I'm quite conscious of the fact that it's quite windy tonight, so you want the eggs to sit in the hot water for a little while before you take them out and consider them to be hard boiled. One piece of advice I have for hard boiled eggs, you know, when you're cooking the eggs, you boil them up and then you peel them, and then that skin sticks to the actual egg. One tip that I found out totally by myself is just pre-soak the eggs for like 5-10 minutes and then go and cook them. So if you pre-soak them the night before, you could put them in water for like 1 to 5 minutes and then take them out and just let them dry, and then when you go and boil them in the next morning, that skin will stick to the shell and not the actual egg. Got that guy to dig into now. The plunged orange is finished. This is another piston head, and I've not had this one yet. They do lagers, and this is the 4th one that I've had. So I've had custom lager, I've had haze lager, I've had full amber, and then there's flat tire. Bubbling. So they did fit both of them in there. That's pretty cool. I'll just keep moving it around. Don't want too much heat to get in there. That's working out pretty nicely. Smells pretty good. I've just opened up the flat tire lager from Piston Head, and it smells beautiful. Let's have a look at what it's a 4.5 dry hop lager with hints of tropical fruit and citrus. Piston Head flat tire features an aromatic, balanced, pleasant bitterness. Naturally carbonated, a lager that pours smoothly without an over-inflated head. It smells really great. I mean, that like tropical fruit is just in there. Just trying to think what it is though. Oh man, there's definitely passion fruit in there. Oh man, this is just like summer in a can, dude. Let me have a sip. Oh, that's good. The wind's picked up quite a bit in the last few minutes. Quite heavily actually. Man, there's creaking everywhere. I heard a very heavy noise from the tree next to me. That was definitely a crack, like a... And this is, I think this is what they call crack willow. So luckily the piece that made that noise is leaning very far away from my tent. So if it comes down, it comes down. Wakes me up early in the morning. Starting to look a lot like teriyaki now. Oh, you should catch a whiff of this. Maybe in the future when they invent smell-o-vision. Yeah, that's really good. Okay, just had my first bite of the lamb teriyaki. I was a bit skeptical because this was actually a sauce that you're supposed to cook chicken in and cook it quite deeply, and then you're supposed to take the chicken off, slice the chicken up, add a little bit of water into the sauce that's left over in the pan, cook that up a bit, and then throw the chicken back in. I thought there wasn't enough seasoning because I was using it more as a marinade, but when I brought the I know it's not in focus, but the zebra little pan thing, I've been cooking it in there for like 20 minutes or something. It's like absolutely soft and tastes wonderful, super awesome. So I'll share this recipe definitely. It's not like your everyday teriyaki flavor. But it's in the same ballpark and absolutely worth trying. So yeah, recipe to come. Okay, just a quick one before this battery dies. Packed everything up, I've chowed, I've had my my drink of my South African sherry to warm me up a little bit, and as I said, I'm using the camo net to kind of close the front of the tent. This is just purely to help to keep the wind off of me if the wind goes a bit funny because of that storm we had yesterday. Also possibly to keep foxes from getting close to me. Yeah, I doubt they will, but just in case, you know. They probably can smell the pork chops. I've taken all my rubbish, put it inside the bag, and that's behind where I'm going to be sleeping. So I got my just basic mountain warehouse. I can't tell you what season sleeping bag it is, but it's not a very good sleeping bag. Inside it, I've put my wool blanket, and then I have underneath that is the Highlander Base S self-inflating mattress. Underneath that is a super cheapo 5-pound 5mm roll mat with a little bit of a foil lining on top, and then a very cheapo top, 3 by 3 or something like that. I've doubled it over on this part where I'm going to be sleeping, and on the other end towards the back of the tent it's just sitting in a singular fashion. I've got that wooden pole over there to try and raise the back of the tent. It has worked a bit. It would be better to put it over this side near where I am, but I'm cool with that. It's alright, you know, got to get to sleep anyway. There's a rucksack and self-defense. Yeah, something kicks off in the day. That dude's over there. Got all my stuff in my rucksack, and the front of the top of my rucksack is sitting up to kind of hold the top of the canvas back with my face. This is the C2 Summit Eros pillow. It's not self-inflating, but anyway, you can deflate it pretty easily by just swinging your hand around the back side, and there's like a little valve thing you can release, so you don't have to get up to do that. It seems like a pretty good pillow, so trying that out tonight. And that is the setup.
Okay, so it's just gone around 4:30 in the morning. My alarm started going off about 15 minutes ago. I've had a pretty good sleep actually. I can't say whether I've actually slept solidly the entire way through, but I've been nice and warm, not sweaty at all. I wish I could film it, but I have a really cool view through the camouflage net out of the tent. So obviously I can see the sky. There is a little bit of a star out there right now. Up above, I'm assuming that it's completely clear sky. Because last night, just before I went to bed, there's quite a few stars out. Not a massive amount, but just nice to see, you know. Usually when you camp in the library tent, the Polish library thing, you're completely covered on all sides. So yeah, it's different. Issues with sleeping. My pillow keeps sliding out from underneath me, so I got to figure out a little hack to keep that underneath me. Other than that, I've had a pretty good night. I was really comfortable. I could stretch out pretty far, so putting the tent out in this kind of profile gives me just that little bit of extra room where I'm not really kicking the end of the tent. Yeah, let's see down there. Yeah, I didn't really reach all the way to the end. Anyway, I just wish I could film this without the light, because it looks really cool through the camouflage. Yeah, so inspecting the tent. It's now 4:45 in the morning. Everything kind of stayed put. I did kick that, you see that wood coming out of the end there. That's the piece of wood that I put in the back. It's kind of propping up the back of the tent a little bit over there. Rucksack is propping it up in that corner, which obviously kept it off my face quite a bit during the night. Yeah, so if you want to get into serious stealth camping, then obviously I could have, well, if that was the intention, you know, I could have taken the camo net. Like if I'm not waking up now super early in the morning, to go to work, I could pull the camo net completely over. I mean, I don't know if it's wide enough. Should be actually. The other thing is, just to note, in the 3-pole configuration, I guess you can guess this yourself, it's kind of common sense, but or logical, there's not much room in there for organizing things. So when I had to pull my rucksack in there and push it to the end, I did it kind of after I put some of this gear down, and obviously once I lifted the rucksack up, it was a bit dirty. So just keep that in mind if you ever want to play around with this one-man setup low for stealth camping. It's fun, it's cool, just a bit of a pain in the ass when it comes to just getting yourself everything in there for the night and then getting into your bag. It's not very easy. The issue that I had was stuffing my wool blanket in there, then getting in my bag. That all got wrecked, and I had to like rearrange everything. It took like, it feels like it took 10 minutes to get comfy. So I mustn't forget to clean up the mess from the stove. This is the positive thing about cooking with these stoves, is because they're off the ground, all that falls out the bottom is ash or very, very small coals, which obviously burn themselves out really quickly. So the result is, all you really need to do, I'll do it with my feet in a second, but just basically get all the soil on top of that. That's definitely dead, because I mean that went out like, you know, 6 hours ago. Kick all the soil back over, kick the leaves back over the top, and try your very best to make it look like no one was here. We all know this, but I'm just including this for people who are stumbling upon my video for the first time and not having watched anything about wild camping or bushcraft kind of activities, you know. Another thing quickly, these are the eyelets where obviously you peg in the tent. That mound over there that I had at the back of the tent, it's very soft in there for some reason, so it must have been earthed up at some point. So there was 1 or 2 of the pegs that went in that weren't really strong. So unfortunately the eyelets are not big enough for my tent pegs. My tent pegs I have for this tent are quite thick. They're not big enough to put 2 at a time. So at the back I was just like lucky that it didn't come loose during the night. But the other thing is, when you set up tent in this configuration, for extra strength, like obviously we had that storm, and I didn't know, oh, and regarding the last night's wind and stuff, it completely died down. I think by the time I went to bed and everything, I think that was like the last of the wind, you know. It's been calm all night. The highway's not kept me awake. I've heard a few sirens this morning, but other than that, just the normal traffic like you can hear in the background now, which is probably picking up, you know. Anyway, just to be safe and just to keep it down nice and strong, I've put an extra one here that's through the buttonholes, but at the same time it held in my camo net. I did the exact same on the other side. So yeah, no, it's a good little system, I reckon. There's the pillow all packed away. Hard to tell the size of it once it's packed, but there you go. Look how small that is. Someone on eBay is selling this for like really cheap. He's selling them for half the price than everyone else's, so get on it. 5:45 right now, 5:50. Just need to kick a few more leaves up on this area over here. Camera equipment away, last few things, camera net on top of the camera.
bag packed, and then head off home. Don't think I'm going to get any more filming in because it's still really dark. In here in the background there's a few robins waking up now. There we go. Yeah. Cool. Catch you on the next one. Thanks for joining me on this. If you stayed till the end, I really appreciate that. Don't forget to check out maybe the playlist of my wild camp sessions. Got quite a few that I've got filmed. I haven't uploaded my 5th one. This is my 6th one right now. The 5th one I'm going to start editing actually tonight. Right, just heading off to work now. Just saw that, so I'm going to film that a bit.